Transformers Exodus, Chapter 8. "This will mean a war," Alphatron said. Orion Pax nodded. He knew this. "And," Alphatron said, tapping his quill on the desktop as he did when he was about to say something that upset him, "you no longer have any choice but to be squarely in the center of it." Considering this, Orion Pax found it impossible. He was a data clerk. He had never fought anyone beyond some desultory training with Jazz after first beginning to hear of Megatron. What use would he be in a war? And was a war really the only possible outcome of the chain of events that had begun with these bombings? Reconsidering, Orion Pax realized that the chain of events had begun much farther back than that. One might say that it had begun the first time he had initiated contact with Megatron. Or perhaps if Orion Pax had not done this, someone else would have. Perhaps the development of events became inevitable the moment Megatron assumed his name. But why stop there? If you were going to believe in inevitability, then Megatron's choice had been predetermined by the existence and actions of the Fallen back in the age of the Primes. And what in turn had predetermined that fateful murder? How far back did you look for cause and effect before you had to acknowledge that certain effects had unknowable causes? "It is difficult to assimilate this idea that you have an unaccustomed role to play," Alphatron said. "Yes," Orion Pax said. "Megatron, too, might not find himself playing the role he expected," Alphatron went on. "What is your sense of him?" "Why are you asking me? You've seen everything I have." "I have not met him. Let us not pretend that your face-to-face meeting didn't take place." Orion Pax was taken aback. He had never thought to deceive Alphatron, but he also would not have minded if the topic of his meeting Megatron had never been broached. "No," he said. "No point pretending about that. I do not regret meeting him." "Then I repeat my question. What is your sense of him?" "He is a leader, and he has many followers," Orion Pax said. "More than anyone would believe, I think. He believes in things that I believe in as well. He has the best interests of Cybertronians at heart. That is my sense of Megatron." After a pause, expecting a response and getting none, he added, "What is yours?" "What I think about Megatron is this." Alphatron flipped open the immense book on his desk, but closed it without looking at a page. "He believes what he professes to believe. You may count on that. What you must consider is whether his methods may ultimately undermine his ideals." For some time, Orion Pax was silent. Alphatron let him think. Eventually, he asked, "What conclusion have you reached?" "Whatever Megatron may believe," Orion Pax said, "I think that I must be there to act as a check on his methods." "Do you think he ordered those bombs?" Orion Pax shook his head. "No." "What makes you think this way?" "I wish I could argue more effectively," Orion Pax said, "but my reason in the end is this. If Megatron had ordered something like that, he would want every Cybertronian to know he had done it." Alphatron was nodding. "Yes, if Megatron is undone, it will not be due to a failure of his ideals, but a failure of his ego." "But who without ego would ever lead?" Orion Pax wondered. "Know this, Orion Pax," Alphatron said. "In times of war, much is proven about the true nature of those who fight. It may be that you will not learn the truth about—" "Yes," Orion Pax said, "about Megatron." Alphatron stared at him, until Orion Pax grew acutely embarrassed about his interjection. When the archivist spoke again, his tone was sharp. "Only a fool interrupts his elders. The war that comes, if it comes, will teach you a final truth about yourself." He emerged from his audience with Alphatron to find, amazingly, Shockwave waiting for him out in the public access area of the Hall of Records. "A librarian," the mecha surgeon said. "You would perhaps do me the honor of accompanying me on a tour. I know little of Iacon, having spent most of my time in less savory circumstances. Orion Pax didn't have to try hard to get the subtext. What would you want to see? As they walked together toward the front door, Shockwave showed him a location on a small screen that unfolded from the outside of his forearm. I think I know where that is, said Orion Pax. The Observatory of Iacon was the finest surface-based astronomical facility on the planet Cybertron. It was one of Orion Pax's favorite places, and he went there whenever he could remind himself of the destiny that awaited bold Cybertronians who dared reach beyond their planet toward the stars. And it was there that he led Shockwave, and there that Megatron met them, in the shadow of the Great Solar Telescope. Orion Pax was nervous and a bit angry. "Things are getting out of control," he said.
"The kind of thing that needs to happen is not the kind of thing that can be controlled," Megatron said. "We all need to know this. Not every Cybertronian is going to wait and talk forever. Some will act."
Something about Megatron's tone alarmed Orion Pax. He spoke slowly, knowing that Shockwave would distort anything he said if he wasn't careful. "Are you saying you knew it was going to happen?" Megatron, too, chose his words carefully.
"I am saying that I heard something was going to happen."
Shock flooded through Orion Pax. He realized in that moment that there were far less common ground between him and Megatron than he had previously thought. They shared goals, yes, but it was becoming increasingly clear that they did not share methods. Perhaps they never would. "I defended you," Orion Pax said.
"Listen, brother," said Megatron. "I knew this was going to happen. Yes, I did not try to stop it. Why not? Because I could not have. I had no control. What are we fighting for, if not the idea that we do not have control over the lives of our fellow Cybertronians? I do not want them to conduct terrorist attacks. I don't want innocent bits of the spark to be extinguished. But here is a hard truth."
Megatron turned and beckoned Orion Pax over to the wall of displays showing the carnage at the explosion sites.
"The hard truth is this. I can distance myself from this, and by doing so become more credible. If those groups, whoever they are, continue to be more extreme than I am, I begin to look rational and reasonable by comparison. This moves us forward, brother. Do you not see that?"
Orion Pax did see it, but he did not like it.
"Would you like to know something else that you probably had never considered?"
"I have a feeling you'll find a way to tell me," Orion Pax said. Megatron walked toward the door.
"My turn to play tour guide," he said.
A few cycles later, Orion Pax, stunned, was ringside at a gladiatorial pit in the subterranean heart of Iacon itself.